Halt! I hadn't been talked to like that since I was a plebe. So I turned around and saluted this great big tall skinny colonel one more time. Not quite as snappily as the first salute. And he started. He said, "That hat is a disgrace." And I'm thinking, it took me half a combat tour to get this hat. He said, "You got stains on that blouse." Yeah, those were stains I couldn't get off with 100 octane gas if we had to wash them in. He said, "That shirt of yours is frayed." Yours would be too if you submitted it to the English laundry. He said, "That necktie is a disgrace. It's not even the regulation." Well, I got that necktie in London and I liked it. It was a knit. He said, "I'm not even going to talk about those pants, but where did you get those shoes?" I said, "Bond Street, sir. They're non-regulation." I said, "Yes, sir." "And they're covered with grease, though, sir. That's hydraulic oil." They said, "Report to my office 3 o'clock this afternoon, properly attired." "Yes, sir." Forget the football office, so I went down. He was right. I mean, every count, he was right. You know, I also needed a haircut. So I did what, as instructed, reported around, passed inspection. 3 months later, last football game, I go to see this colonel. "Sir, I'm ready for my next assignment." He said, "What do you mean, Major?" I said, "Sir, the football season's over. I'm ready to go." He said, "You're going to be here for 4 years." I thought, ooh. Oh. So, "Yes, sir." So I got in my car, drove to Washington, met a friend in the Pentagon, told him my sad story. He said, "What do you want to do?" I said, "I want to go back to Europe, go back to my squadron. They're on occupation duty. I want to get in on some of that looting, you know." all those things that conquerors do. He said, "No, you don't want to do that. The place is in a shambles. We don't know what we're going to do over there. There are no plans." I said, "What else would you like?" I said, "Well, I heard about a jet outfit out there in California. How about that?" Right, 20 minutes later I had my orders. So I went back to West Point, packed my foot locker, snuck around and cleared the base, waited till 5 o'clock, went up to the colonel's office, put one copy of my orders in the center of his desk, got back in my car, went out the north gate, turned left toward California and sang all night long. And I reported in to the most wonderful guy, and he's still a great friend, named Colonel Tex Hill. Legendary figure. AVGs, you know, CBI, fighter ace, great big fella, Texan. And here are his words. "Major Olds, reporting for duty, sir." He said, "How in the hell did you get into this outfit?" And I said, "Sir, I used all the pull I could muster." He thought about that for a minute. He said, "Well, I guess I got it." He didn't ask who the pull was. It was just another major. He said, "Well, I guess I'll keep you around here till I get rid of some of you majors. I'm just stumbling. I got so many majors I don't know what to do with them all." He said, "Go find a job." So I walked down the hall and here's a little sign that said group operations. I walked in, there was an empty desk. This lieutenant colonel asked me what I was doing. I said, "Colonel Hill just sent me down to work for you, sir." A couple hours later, I couldn't find anything to do, so I said, "Sir, I'll be back. I'm going to go fly." And out on the ramp are all these beautiful P-80s, the old shooting star. Beautiful job, you know, the first jets. So I grabbed a parachute, had my flight gear, walked out on the ramp, and here's this crew chief buttoning one of them up. I said, "You ready to go, Chief?" "Yes, sir." I said, "Look, I know you have difficulty with the starting system on this. I want you to show me how, because I don't want to mess it up." So I'm all strapped in, and he gets up on the ladder and shows me how to start it. "Thanks a lot, Chief." Taxied out and took off. That was my checkout. I landed without hurting anybody or me or the airplane. It was easy, actually, beautiful airplane to fly. taxied in. Crew chief's a little miffed right now because somebody else had come out there to fly that airplane and it wasn't there. So I walked into Squadron Ops and I said, I'd like to report a hour 15 minutes on 0027. And this ops officer looked at me and said, that's not our airplane. I said, well, that's all right. I'm from the group. I'll be flying them all. Well, I lasted. I didn't get transferred, thrown out, or stumbled over. And ultimately, I became the wingman, two of us, on the very first jet acrobatic team I know in the States, because we were the only ones that had jets. I don't know if the Brits had done it yet with their meteors. But anyway, we did it. This guy's name was Pappy Herbst. He was the leading agent in the CBI. Wonderful man, marvelous man. This is kind of a sad story. We put on shows all over the country. Had a pretty wild and woolly show because there were no rules. And when Pappy started the loop, it was right off the deck, and that's where he finished, right on the deck. It was kind of scary, but you got used to it. We landed out of a split S in formation. Do a loop, go up, split S, come back and land. We were doing that one day in an air show, and Pappy had been married the day before. Big reception, stag party the night before that. Neither one of us was feeling too shiny. And he messed up that maneuver, that landing maneuver. And I screamed at him, pull, Pappy, pull, pull. And I started pulling it right on the shutter, all the way down. And I just barely missed the ground, and I knew he didn't make it. So I flew back to Marchfield and landed, and there was a little knot of people there. They didn't know which one of us had gone in. And I looked, and there was his bride of one day. I didn't want to get out of that airplane. I didn't want to take my mask off or my helmet, but I had to. So I backed down the ladder, and somebody grabbed me by the arm and said, what happened? I couldn't answer. So that's how I became the leader of the four-ship acrobatic team. And well, ultimately I wound up, they sent me on exchange with the RAF. I was in #1 squadron, flying Meteors. And the checkout in the Meteor was exactly like the one I had in the P-80. Just go do it. This was a little more scary because it was about 100-foot ceiling and raining. And I didn't know how to work the radio. I didn't know where anything was. I didn't know, did they have a GCA? I didn't know. They didn't bother to tell me. I thought maybe the squadron leader, Tommy Byrne, didn't like Americans, and he was trying to get rid of one of them expensive way. But that was a wonderful tour. I loved the Brits. I had a marvelous time with those fellas. Came back, we converted to F-86s. The first model of the 86, which was not a very good airplane. There were too many innovations. Slats would come unlocked, and you'd do snap rolls. Too fast, and you'd lose your elevator sometime. Engines quit. Hydraulic problems. All overcome later, but these first 35 airplanes were kind of interesting to fly. One of the things we learned to do was, if the gear handle wouldn't move, what you did is roll upside down and put some negative G on it, because usually there's a piece that fell out of above this box that held the gear handle, and a nut would get lodged in there and you couldn't move the gear handle. So you turn upside down and push forward on the stick and dislodge the nut, turn back over and put the gear handle down. That wasn't in the tech order, but speaking of tech orders, there's a gentleman here in the audience. Ed, is it? He had the misfortune of working in the Pentagon when I was in Thailand. And he was the guy that did something having to do with the weapons on board the F-4, including the AIM-4D. We had C model F4s. And on board were 4 beautiful sidewinders and a bunch of junk called Sparrows, AIM-7s. The D model had AIM-4s on it, not sidewinders, but Falcon missile, which had been devised by some idiot. I hope I'm not hurting any feelings here. Just occurred to me I got a big mouth, sorry. But it wasn't a very well thought out weapon, let's put it that way. Mainly it didn't work. I was so worried about it when we went to ground school before the arrival of this model F4. I said, nobody's going to take that D model north, way up by Hanoi, until I've had a chance to test the systems. For instance, going out, the kid in the back seat who'd come over with the airplanes said, Colonel, look at your radar scope. We were headed across the DMZ toward the tankers out over the South China Sea. And it had a lot of lines across it like that. I said, well, what is that? He said, that's the friendlies. I said, my, that's interesting. Turn it off. Now, turn it back on and show me the enemy, because I know where the friendlies are. Reverse thinking somewhere there, you know. And that was just one thing about the D. Went up there, got in 3 scraps with MiGs, and the missile, I'm sorry, did not work. The last one was truly frustrating. I mean, I turned the MiG over to my wing. I said, God, you shoot it. Dick Pascal. So when I landed, got the director of maintenance in, Ernie, take those AIM-4Ds off that F4 and put sidewinders on it. Oh, boss, we can't do that. I said, what do you mean you can't do that? He said, well, we don't have any tech orders that cover that weapon on board the F4D. I said, who needs tech orders? He said, we do. We have to maintain the thing. Ernie, go ask your experts if you got the power that goes down to that those inboard pylons. I want to put sidewinders on this airplane. Well, it worked. Put them on with a shim so I could carry sidewinders and bombs. And that really blew his mind, because that wasn't in the tech orders either. Well, about a month later, here comes General Al Shins. Did you know him? General Al Shins was the, I don't know, I guess he was the honcho in charge of changing over from the C to the D down at England, something like that. So we're standing out on the ramp there in Thailand, and he said, how do you like the D model? I said, Al, I was really happy to get them because they fit into the maintenance stream and really gave us some fresh blood in, you know, our maintenance schedules and turnovers. It's great. He said, well, that's good. We expected that, but what about that lead collision course gun sight? I said, well, I guess it works, Al, but, you know, we don't carry a gun. He said, what? You think I'm going to, I said, Al, you think I'm going to give a gun to these youngsters that have been badly trained back in the States, and they're over here to fly a combat tour? They don't know how to MiG fight, and they're going to go up there and get fangs out and hair on fire, and want to get in combat with the MiG-17, it'd kill them. You think I want them going down and strafing a truck, for God's sake? No way. If we can't hit it with a bomb, forget it. It's not important. What's important is keeping these kids alive. He said, well, okay, I understand that. Well, what about the raw gear, new raw gear? That's radar homing and warning. Set right here. Blocked out half your quarter panel. I said, Al, it works. Yeah, yeah, it works. But of course, we turn off that stuff when we cross the Red River. What? I said, Al, all of those bad guys down on the ground are paid to acquire, to track, lock on, and launch. I don't need this stuff in the cockpit telling me that that's what they're doing. It's very distracting. Al wasn't too pleased. So finally, we got to several other systems that were unique to the D. He said, now take this old C here. We were standing right in front of us. I said, no, Al, that's a D. Oh, no, that's a C. It's got sidewinders on it. Oh, General, well, I got away with it, but it didn't please too many people. And guess who got chewed out for it? Eddie. He just came out in the hall and he said, I owe you an apology from 1967. I said, what for? And he explained to me that he was a guy in the Pentagon that had to do with, I'm not sure what, but when I made that little switcheroo over in Thailand, McConnell called him in and chewed him out. So that's where the apology flows. It goes downhill this way. But, ladies and gentlemen, I want you to know that the kids who were over there in that very sad war were magnificent young Americans. You'd be so very, very proud of everybody. All the maintenance guys, the cooks, the bakers, the clerks, the typists, pilots, supply guys, everybody. And one of the things I'm most proud of in my whole 30 years is the fact that out of that one wing, and the guys that were there in 66, 67, over 70 of them made general officer. Now I bet you no other fighter wing can boast of that. Bill Kirk, Donnelly, Spangrid, whole list. I'm proud of them. Proud of them. I always want to tell the American public about their sons. They're magnificent. Well, back in about 61, I called into my boss in the basement of the Pentagon, two-star, nice guy, very nice guy. One flaw in his character. He was wearing a missile badge. Nice man, Mo Preston. And he said, Colonel, I am sick and tired of these studies you are running on our lack of conventional capability. You're living in the past. I was proving that we didn't have any decent R&D on weaponry, conventional. We didn't have a decent fighter. We had the 105, which had Bombay in it. You've seen that thing sitting on. Look how big that is. That's a fighter. It's a great airplane. But that's all we had. Plus the old F-100, which is the kiddie car. I didn't like that. The training, we weren't training the troops properly. All we were doing was sitting nuke alert. Lip service to any other responsibilities. So he says, you're living in the past. You want to put on your leather jacket and go out and do battle with the Red Baron. Get it through your head, Oates. This is 1960, 61. We are never again going to fight a conventional war. And I thought, where has this guy been? What have we been doing since 1945? I don't remember dropping nukes on anybody. So, you know, this is rather worrisome. If this is the attitude expressed by the big boys in the Pentagon. So anyway, this beautiful day, we're going up the Gulf. The tanks are just right, we're just right, the thuds are down with their tankers, the wild weasels are already out in front. It was a magnificent, beautiful sight. And I told the kid in the back seat that I want you to look around and understand what it took to get us right where we are in this airplane, this day, headed in that direction. All the people in the United States Air Force, back in the States, at the office, every supply depots, hospital, everybody, to get us right here. We're lucky people. Now, we're going to go north. We're going to take a hard left turn up there at Hongai. We're going to go into the Northeast Railroad. We're going to get SAM shot at us. You know there's going to be a lot of flak. I have a gut feeling we're going to see MiGs today. But Stevie, baby, don't worry about it, because I've got it on good authority that none of this is happening. Stevie, baby, General Stephen Croker. I think he retired with one of his last jobs at commanding 8th Air Force. Makes me proud. But none of that was happening. So look what we've done since then, guys. Look what this kid's flying. Weapon systems, airplanes that are magical. So to you young squirts, I'm going to repeat myself. Don't think you're going to fight another Desert Storm just like you fought the last one. We keep making that mistake over and over and over. After War I, the Army still wanted to fight in the trenches. After War II, everything is bombers and nukes. Korea, we just forgot that. Forgot to build a good fighter. We built the 86H, which is better than the F-100. Ever thought of it as a fighter. But we forgot. Now look at us. We've got all these wonderful kids, great equipment, and we're burning them out with TDY over to the desert to keep that idiot from killing his own people. Let him kill him, I don't care. I mean, what do we think we're doing? We're burning our Air Force like a candle all along the whole length. It's not fair, folks. Now, that's one man's opinion, okay? And whether you share it or not, I've just expressed my opinion. We're going to bomb Saddam, what? His nerve gas storage area with a 3,000-pound bomb and loose all that stuff? Well, go ahead. I don't care as long as the wind's blowing in the right direction. Either down toward Israel or Syria or over to Iraq, Iran, I don't care. Might as well publish the frag in the New York Times, huh? That makes it nice for our kids. Come on. Too bad all of our people in Washington don't understand what you people think. We've got a fellow right here who's trying his best to see to it. He represents all of us in the AFA. But he's, you know, he has a staff, but it's an uphill battle. But I thank you, Ken, for what you're doing. I'm going to finish on one note, please. I've talked too long. It's one of the problems I have in life. Eminent historians, professors, have studied ancient civilizations right up to ours. And they've determined that most identifiable civilizations last about 12 to 1,400 years. The character of the people is the same in each one of these, going all the way back 5,000 years ago. It's like a top part of a sine curve. Here are these civilizations. What is the character of the people? Bondage, Dark Age. Spiritual faith, courage, liberty, abundance, greed, complacency, dependency, bondage. And this fellow measured, or they all measured started our sine curve about the time of Charlemagne, 800 AD. 800 plus 14, 800 plus 12, you can figure it out. So where are we on this inevitable curve? Kind of down here, feels like. What can we do about it? We can remember what Socrates told his students. The freedom that we all enjoy is a precious and fragile commodity. It takes each of us to give of himself to support and protect the freedom that we all enjoy. Otherwise, we will lose it. That was about 432 BC. I'd much rather tell jokes. I have a good one for you. I'm going to say Polish fella because it always seems to fit a joke, but I mean, no reflection on any nation, person, anybody, but this Polish fellow was at the pearly gates. St. Pete said we have some new rules. You have to pass an oral test in order to get in. I'm going to ask you 3 questions. Don't try to answer until I've asked the questions. Then, depending on whether or not you answer them properly, it depends on whether or not you get in here or go down that way. First question. How many days of the week begin with the letter T? Second question. How many seconds in a year? Third question. What is God's first name? Polish fellow said, I'm ready. He said, you can't be. That's too fast. Nobody is ready that fast. He said, I'm ready. He said, all right, you know the consequences. How many days of the week begin with the letter T? He said, today and tomorrow. How many seconds in a year? 12. 12? Yeah. 2nd of January, 2nd of February. All right. What is the Lord's first name? He said, Andy. Andy? How do you get Andy? He said, Andy walks with me. So now, folks, this old fella, happily retired. It's my duty to ski every day in the winter, trout, fish, backpack, play golf in the summer, and travel a lot. And I've traveled all over, everywhere, talking to kids, mostly Air Force. And I'm kind of sad what I see in our Air Force today. They're not happy. They're not happy at all. This TDY is killing them. They feel like this, political correctness. Yeah. Yuck. We better start taking care of our troops, folks. And it's kind of up to you now. Remember, each of us must give of himself, and I'm sure all of you do to the best of your ability. I'm going to try harder. Thank you very much.
No, don't go away.